One of the Vatican Abuse Summit's organizers is saying the code of silence must be broken because only the truth will set the church free. Joining us now to dig into what's on the summit's agenda is the world's top Vatican expert and the editor of Crux, John Allen. John, always such a pleasure to talk with you.
Hey, Liz, every time you call me the world's top Vatican expert, my heart skips a beat. So I will do this with you anytime you like.
We only speak the truth here, John. You know that's so genuine. And speaking of that, the summit, its focus, it's going to be on the abuse of children. What about vulnerable adults, John? Seminarians, women religious who face abuse. Will that also be examined?
Yeah, this has all been in the era of late. Of course, the scandals surrounding former cardinal and now former priest Theodore McCarrick involved not simply the sexual abuse of children, but also the abuse of vulnerable adults. In his case, seminarians and young priests. Obviously, there has been a great deal of reporting also about the abuse of nuns recently by priests in various parts of the world. I mean, technically speaking, Liz, this is a summit on the protection of children.
Now, as you just mentioned, the big headline ahead of this summit, Theodore McCarrick stripped of his clerical collar. What impact will that McCarrick scandal have on the bishop's discussions? Will it play a part?
Well, I think inevitably it will play a part. Now, how much it is going to be a factor actually inside the meeting room when the bishops come together, we don't know. But certainly in the atmospheric surrounding it and the kinds of things you were likely to hear from victims and survivors this week, the McCarrick case is going to be huge because, the Vatican wanted to have the McCarrick case wrapped up and out of the way before this summit began. But the thing of it is, Liz, I think according to most survivors and victims, defrocking Theodore McCarrick is the beginning, not the end of that case. The end game is accountability not just for the crime, but for the cover-up. They want to know who else knew about the behavior that McCarrick was engaged in, and how was he able to remain at the pinnacle of power in the Catholic Church for more than 2 decades, despite persistent rumors that he was engaged in this kind of misconduct.
John, big expectations for this summit. The Pope's top investigator into clerical sex abuse, Archbishop Charles Scicluna, pointing to this summit as the moment when the truth must be revealed. Let's listen.
This need to break any code of silence, any complicity with denial. And we have to face the facts, because only truth, the truth of the matter, the truth of the factual and confronting with the facts will make us free.
I only pose the hard questions to you, John Allen. Can the whole truth be revealed at this summit?
Short answer, Liz, no. This is a 3-day meeting, and you have people attending from all over the world with wildly different experiences of the clerical sexual abuse scandal, ranging from places such as the United States and Western Europe that have been living with this for decades, to sub-Saharan Africa, parts of Asia, parts of Latin America that have never dealt with this at all. So I think the expectations for these 3 days actually are fairly minimal. I think it's simply that everybody walk away understanding this is a problem and something needs to be done about it. The real critical element of all this, Liz, is going to be the follow-up. And that's something that places such as Currents and places such as Crux, we're going to need to continue to have our eyes on this. I think what we're going to get are some very impressive rhetorical commitments to reform. We're going to have to be watching to see whether those commitments are actually lived out in the weeks and months to come.
Do you think this event can bring about the changes that the church needs to combat, finally, this abuse crisis?
I think what this summit can do is make a commitment to bring about those changes, but that's going to happen at the local level, or it's not going to happen at all. The Vatican can do some things. For instance, it could tell us what it knew about McCarrick and when it knew it. That would be very helpful. But the real issue of holding accusers accountable and then ultimately holding bishops accountable for their handling of accusers, that's not something that can be solved exclusively in Rome, and that's not something that can be solved in 3 days. That's going to require some time, and I think the issue here is whether media and activists are going to continue to hold the church's feet to the fire even after Sunday when this summit wraps up.
John, always direct, always insightful. Thank you so much.
A pleasure, Liz.